Welcome to Fun Facts Daily, your source for just the good stuff. Monday through Friday, we're bringing fun facts and news you can use, all carefully curated to uplift and inform. So give yourself a break, relax, and learn something awesome in just a few minutes every day. Hi everyone, I'm Kyle.
I'm Atticus.
And I'm Philly.
While every episode of Fun Facts Daily is clean and appropriate for listeners of all ages, on the first Friday of every month, I like to do a Family Fun Friday with my kids co-hosting as we cover a topic they're interested in and hopefully your family can enjoy exploring together too.
Today, we are going to be learning about King Tutankhamun, commonly referred to as King Tut.
He was a relatively minor pharaoh in ancient Egypt who passed away unexpectedly, was hastily buried, and largely forgotten about until the 20th century.
When Howard Carter finally opened his tomb in 1922, it was the first fully intact pharaoh's tomb ever unsealed by modern archaeologists. The fact that he was one of the youngest pharaohs in history, ascending to the throne at just 8 or 9 years old, made his story even more compelling.
Now, as always, before we get into the facts, let's warm up our brains with a loud challenge to see if you can tell truth from fiction. Consider this.
Rumor has it that a few years ago, a museum worker accidentally knocked the iconic blue and gold braided beard right off of King Tut's priceless burial mask while queening it. In a moment of panic, they supposedly tried to glue it back on using industrial-strength epoxy, as if no one would notice. It seems like a wacky plotline to a sitcom, but did it actually happen in real life?
What do you think? We'll find out at the end of the episode. Now for your word of the day. Our word for today is sarcophagus. That's sarcophagus.
A sarcophagus is a coffin typically carved out of stone and decorated with a sculpture or inscription. Sarcophaguses are associated with the ancient civilizations of Egypt, Rome, and Greece. In the context of ancient Egypt, a sarcophagus was the outmost protective layer of a royal mummy, designed to safeguard the deceased's physical body for eternity, so their soul could successfully navigate the afterlife.
These massive stone containers were often carved from granite, limestone, or basalt, and they were intricately decorated with religious texts, magical spells, and images of protective deities. King Tutankhamun's own sarcophagus was an incredible piece of craftsmanship made of yellow quartzite. The word sarcophagus actually has a surprising origin. It comes from ancient Greek. Well, I suppose that's not surprising because so much of our language has Greek or Latin roots, but the specific roots and their meaning is actually a bit unexpected here. The word sarcophagus combines sarx, meaning flesh, and phagian, meaning to eat, so it literally means flesh eating. This somewhat gruesome name came from a specific type of limestone quarried near the ancient city of Assos in Troas. The ancient Greeks believed that particular limestone had special chemical properties that could rapidly decompose the physical remains contained within it. Over time, the term dropped the gross association with decomposition and became the general word for any grand carved stone coffin.
Time for your daily high five, our top 5 fun facts about King Tut.
Number 1. King Tut was buried with everything he might want in the afterlife, including 4 sets of a popular ancient board game and 145 pairs of underwear.
The ancient Egyptians believed that the afterlife was essentially a continuation of their earthly existence, meaning they would need all the everyday comforts, tools, and clothing they enjoyed while alive. Because washing machines weren't exactly a thing in the underworld, King Tut's embalmers made sure he would never run out of clean clothes. They packed his tomb with 145 linen loincloths, which was essentially ancient Egyptian underwear. Alongside his eternal supply of undies, archaeologists discovered 4 exquisitely crafted sets of a board game known as senet to keep him entertained. Senet was one of the most popular pastimes in ancient Egypt, played on a regular board with carved pieces and casting sticks that acted like modern dice. In a royal burial, this game held a much deeper spiritual significance beyond just passing the time. Playing and winning a game of senet against an invisible opponent was a symbolic way for the deceased to prove their worthiness to the gods and secure their eternal life.
Number 2. King Tut was buried in 3 nesting coffins, like Russian nesting dolls, and his innermost coffin was made of 242 pounds of solid gold.
When Howard Carter finally peered inside the stone sarcophagus in King Tut's burial chamber, he found 3 human-shaped coffins nested inside one another. While the outer 2 coffins were crafted from wood and covered in spectacular gold leaf, the innermost coffin was an absolute masterpiece of ancient metallurgy forged from solid, thick gold. It features the pharaoh in his divine form as Osiris, holding the royal crook and flail across his chest. The metal is embellished with intricate engravings and colorful inlay work made from semi-precious stones like lapis lazuli, turquoise, and carnelian. The monetary value of the coffin in today's gold market would be well over $2 million, but its historical and artistic value are immeasurable. The use of solid gold was not just about showing off immense wealth. In ancient Egyptian theology, the gods were thought to have skin literally made of gold because it never tarnished or decayed. By encasing the young king's mummy in the flesh of the gods, the ancient priests believed they were guaranteeing his successful transformation into a divine being in the afterlife.
Number 3. One of the daggers found wrapped inside King Tut's mummy bandages was made from the iron of a meteorite that fell from outer space.
Among the thousands of dazzling artifacts found within the boy king's tomb, one of the most fascinating discoveries was a very special, ornate dagger strapped to his right thigh. While the dagger has incredibly beautiful gold and a crystal pommel, it's the weapon's iron blade that has captivated researchers for decades. During King Tut's lifetime in the Bronze Age, iron smelting was extremely rare, and iron was actually considered more valuable than gold because it was so difficult to acquire. Modern X-ray fluorescence spectrometry has confirmed that the high levels of nickel and cobalt in the blade perfectly match the chemical composition of known iron meteorites. And the ancient Egyptians were well aware that this rare metal came from above, affectionately referring to it in their hieroglyphics as the iron of the sky.
Quick bonus fact for today. That wasn't the only out-of-this-world element in King Tut's tomb. All that gold probably came from outer space too.
Scientists believe that when the Earth was forming as a mass of molten material, heavier metals like gold would have sunk to the core rather than sitting at the surface. After the Earth's core had fully formed and the outer crust began to cool and solidify, the inner solar system was still a chaotic place. About 3.8 to 4 billion years ago, Earth was battered by a massive shower of asteroids and meteorites. Scientists refer to this event as the late veneer. Because the crust had already hardened, the gold and other heavy metals carried by these specific meteorites were deposited on the surface and folded into the Earth's mantle and crust over millions of years of tectonic activity. This means that pretty much all the gold we can actually mine and use on the surface today was delivered by massive meteorite impacts billions of years ago. So, in a very real way, King Tut was fully decked out in treasures from outer space.
Number 4. Despite holding over 5,000 priceless treasures, King Tut's tomb is actually the smallest royal tomb ever discovered in the Valley of Kings.
When we imagine the final resting place of an ancient Egyptian pharaoh packed with golden chariots, thrones, and statues, we often imagine a sprawling, cavernous underground palace. But King Tutankhamun's tomb is astonishingly cramped. It has just 4 small, roughly hewn rooms. The entire floor plan is only about 1,100 square feet, which was tiny compared to his predecessors. The entire area was only about 1,180 square feet, which is tiny compared to his predecessors. Because of the limited space, the burial party struggled to cram the 5,398 artifacts into the rooms. They had to pile priceless golden beds on top of each other and disassemble chariots just to make them fit. Historians believe that this surprisingly small tomb was never actually intended for a pharaoh, but rather a non-royal noble or high-ranking official like his advisor. But they just didn't have the decades normally required to carve out a proper, large-scale royal tomb. This turned out to be a sort of happy little accident of history, as the tomb's small size and unusual location under the debris of another tomb are exactly what kept it hidden from looters for millennia.
And our 5th and final fact, King Tut's mummy accidentally caught fire and quietly cooked inside its solid gold coffin.
When King Tut passed away unexpectedly, his burial preparations were incredibly rushed, and his embalmers made a pretty massive mistake. During the mummification process, the priests soaked his linen wrappings in an unusually thick, heavy layer of black, flammable resins and plant oils. Scientists recently discovered that when the mummy was finally sealed inside its nested coffins, those oils began a violent, slow-burning chemical reaction with the oxygen inside the tomb. Because he was locked inside a highly conductive metal box, this chemical reaction sparked a slow-burning fire that reached temperatures over 400 degrees Fahrenheit. This chemical fire helps explain why King Tut's mummy was found in such a uniquely fragile and damaged state compared to other pharaohs who had more time dedicated to their careful embalming.
Now for some news you can use.
If you have a collection of family heirlooms, old photographs, or even just your own personal treasures, you can take a page right out of the archaeologist's playbook to preserve your own history. Howard Carter didn't just rush in and grab the gold. He spent nearly 10 years meticulously photographing, sketching, and cataloging every single item before moving it.
You can apply the same archaeological method at home by creating a digital gallery of your favorite things or family artifacts from special memories.
Taking time to photograph your important items and write down stories, dates, and names associated with them ensures their history isn't lost to time. The human memory is prone to fading, and every time we recall something, we often make little changes to it. The significance of a great-grandmother's ring or a vintage toy can easily be forgotten by the next generation. By carefully documenting your own treasures today, you're essentially creating a perfectly preserved historical record that your family can enjoy and learn from for decades to come.
Finally, for the moment you've been waiting for.
At the beginning of the episode, we asked if a museum worker really knocked the beard off King Tut's mask and tried to just glue it back on.
It sounds like a joke, but it is an absolute fact. In 2014, workers at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo were adjusting the lighting in the display case when they accidentally snapped the iconic braided beard off a 3,300-year-old priceless artifact. In a moment of panic, they hastily reattached it using a thick layer of industrial-strength epoxy glue, which dried into a visible, crusty yellow ring around the pharaoh's chin. While everyone understands that accidents happen and the panic is totally relatable, using the wrong material and a bad repair job can do more harm than good. The incident caused a massive scandal in the archaeology world, and a team of international restoration experts had to be brought in to painstakingly scrape off the hardware store glue and reattach the beard properly using the same sort of natural beeswax adhesive that the ancient Egyptians would have.
I hope you enjoyed learning about King Tut with us today.
And be sure to tune in every weekday for more fun facts.
Fun Facts Daily is an Airwave Media podcast. It was written, recorded, mixed, and edited by us, Kyle, Atticus, and Philly. Thanks for sharing a part of your day with us. Be sure to follow Fun Facts Daily on your favorite podcast app so you can keep the good stuff coming your way every day. And if you like the show, please do me a favor and leave a kind rating, review, or just tell your friends about it.